The last thing I want to bring up was that super excited about my mentors, my online mentors. They're having a live event in May. So I don't get any money for this, but offering this. But it's so funny. It was like I've been doing deep dive on Dr. Benjamin Hardy. We've talked
Yes.
about him and what he's doing. And then I did a deep dive on Daniel Priestley, who does oversubscribe, key person of interest. And he's got this new thing called scorecard. So I've been deep dive on both these guys the last, what, year or so. Then I've been talking about Myron Golden for years. Guess what? They're coming to Tampa in May, and I'm going to be right in the number, man. I decided I'm going to show up for Myron Golden's Offer Mastery Live.
Okay.
And guess what? Daniel Priestley and Dr. Benjamin Hardy will both be there speaking. So super excited about that. So it's like, wow. So this is all three in one room. I'm just going to hit them up, bah, 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 with some numbers and some questions. So I'm super excited about that.
Ah, there's actually somebody else in here I know too. I'm looking at the list right now of people, and Nika Maples. I actually ran across her once as
Oh,
one of
you know her? Okay.
the authors coach.
That's funny. She was there last year. So I went to his event last year because it's in Tampa. Why not? I don't know if you can see that blue black background. If you look at the bottom there, there's a bunch of folks sitting on stage.
Yeah.
Do you see that? So that was the one I went to. So Mika is right there. She's the only white lady there. So she was speaking about, she's one of his students, right? And so it's interesting. She went from a panelist to a speaker. Obviously, they compensate him, Myron Golden, for his time, and then probably he provides a stage for them to offer their
Okay.
expertise. And so probably what he did was Nat Jones, she's also there. She's a young lady here on the left-hand side. So for the listeners, look, go to Offer Mastery Live. I don't get paid for this, but you'll see the picture at the bottom there. They were both panelists, but they're now speakers. So I thought that was interesting. And that was a low key, Mr. Benja, in the back of my mind. I have a book out. So I'm thinking, do I need to get on some platforms more? And so I'm thinking about really considering Myron Golden's offer and seeing what that looks like, especially if you can get me on some stages. Because ultimately, that's what Dan Priestley talks about. You need to become a key person of influence, and you have to be in rooms with more people in it. Because you can sell it one on one, but that's just not going to get you to scale. You got to create some kind of imbalance where more people are listening to you. And then now there's a sense that, hey, this person is hard to get to. There are more people want to listen to him. So I have to do other things to get access to him. And so I think the speaking piece of it is the next level of what I want to get to with my business. And I think Myron has a key to that. And there's some other ones that I can reach out to see what they have. Because to me, I think the best offer would be, Mr. Benja, if you can go work with someone
Mhm.
and they not only help you craft your story and speak, but then they give you a stage too with an audience. That way you can record it. And
Yeah.
then you can say, hey, look, I'm a speaker. And that gives you other speaking engagements.
What was really cool about being in San Diego was being around Comic Con people, right? Like a lot of these video game artists and uh, production level artists, they would do a lot of 3D work, cover work, and things like that for comic books. In fact, I had lunch with Jim Lee one time. It was weird and out of the blue. My friend was like, "Hey, we're having lunch with these guys. One of them works at Wildstorm," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And one thing led to another, and suddenly it's a Jim Lee lunch. And yeah, he's just like,
Well, for the listeners, wait a minute, Jim Lee is
"Yeah,
a
go ahead."
legendary comic books artist. He did all the famous covers, what Spider-Man, X-Men, and everyone loves him. Yeah.
Yeah, dude can crank out with little work, just bam, and it's awesome, solid. He just knows his stuff. So yeah, and I brought up that up to say you hit a certain point where you start just talking to people and they're like, "Hey, you should do a panel about that." And that person calls the convention organizer. Next thing you know, you're on a Comic-Con panel. And I've been on one of those,
Mm,
a Comic-Con panel before, and it was fun. It was
nice.
just like, you just walk up there, they print out your little name badge and everything, and you're just like, panelist, BI. And so much authority comes from that. It's just unbelievable. Like, you don't even have to be speaking. You can just walk outside. Yep, I was a panelist. And these kids like, "You're a panelist?" "Yes, take my information, send me money, follow my tribe." It's great.
Yeah, man. So I'm a big believer in that now. So I think I talked about Daniel Priestley before, but key person of influence, oversubscribed. It's that whole. It's just you. And he talks about this concept of you want to create a tension of supply and demand. So basically, and it has to be transparent. So economics term is supply and demand curve, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times you don't one on one try to sell someone something and they like, oh, I have all the power and the knowledge, so I don't want to buy from you. I can just go talk to other folks, right? Because they just think you're just one person. But if you switch that and become somebody where it's, you know what, I don't really need you here. This is what I have to offer. If you don't want it,
Mm.
I have other people in line. So he gave the example of it's a hot day, you're trying to get an ice cream cone, you look around, there is a cart that's selling ice cream, but there's a line around the park. So now people go up to try to get an ice cream cone. Are they going to discount that ice cream cone? No, of course not. They probably raise their prices because there's so many people that want it. And so
Yeah.
it's transparent because everybody can see it. And number two, so there's no sense of like negotiating a price or anything at that point. And so the way you if you can structure your business like that, and that's where the mind shift is like, how do I structure my business where we become almost like untouchables? Yeah, we have this, but you can't sign up today. And he gave another example. I was listening to his master class. You know Chris Doe, you heard of his
Yes,
podcast?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he had him on his podcast and he talked about I guess he's more of a designer
He's
like you, and
fire.
he
Yeah,
was
I like
talking about yeah, he was talking about like shoe drops, right? Was like, "Hey, here's a shoe drop. Come check it out." That 10,000 likes. Then you go to the website and it's sold out. But if you want to know when we do the next release, we'll notify you, sign up here. And so that's a sense of becoming oversubscribed and becoming a key person of influence. And to me, I was like, man, that is such a better way of running a business because it's almost like you dictate the price. You become a monopoly in your own little niche, and now you can dictate what you want. And you can make more profits. And so he gave examples of like airline versus Rolex. Rolex has a waiting line out the box to get access to Rolex because they have wait lists. So you have to apply to get a Rolex, all this other stuff. Whereas airlines are way more essential. The price points is they make very little margins, 3 to 5%, because this is ubiquitous. You know, it's everywhere that everyone needs access to. So anyway, I say that I compressed his whole kind of conversation, but like you can tell, I'm super excited about see how I can implement some of these strategies to how I think about my business because it's got to be a different way. I think the old traditional way is there, but it's not the same anymore. People are going to buy what they buy, and they only do. And I was talking to, I'll let you go. I know I'm going round winded
go,
about
go,
this. Stupid hype. I
go.
explained to my marketing person. She said she just bought some linen, and she's, "Oh, yeah, I finally bought some linen. Great job." I said, "I wonder." I said, "Did you when did you decide to make this linen?" She gave all these logical reasons because of this, and it was more cheaper, it was better price, better quality, blah, blah, blah. I said, was there an influencer that talked to you first when you did your research that kind of swayed you? And she had to think about it for a second. She said, you know what? There was. I was listening to this influencer and she recommended this product and I looked at over time and then I made a decision to buy it. So people emotionally make a decision to buy it first and they justify it logically later on
Yeah,
the buy.
yeah,
And I was explaining to her, I said, that's what you want to become with any of business. You want to become someone that people says, oh, I trust what they say. I know and trust. Now now I'm gonna use logic to justify why I bought from him. It's a key mind shift, a change in when you think about business. And this is what's this advanced calculus, right? This is like advanced business 101. You really have to understand how you can become that person. So speaking, being on a panel like you talked about, it just levels up the game and the perception of who you are, the man that you are bringing, that people are like, "Oh, wow, Mr. Benja is someone I need to connect to because he's been on a Comic-Con panel. He must know something."
yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I got on a panel at Comic Con because of GamerCon. You remember the
Mhm.
GamerCon thing? So it's like some people owned a theater and were like, "Hey, let's start hosting our own little events here." And they started hosting their own little events. I drew up some posters and things for it, and people were like, "Holy crap, what is this?" And next thing you know, we're having big dogs come through this little event, and that little event, somebody said, "Hey, you should talk to this guy." Next thing, bada boom, bada bing. It's a great play on the entire concept of social proof. Just
Mhm.
people need to understand that you're socially relevant, and we don't have the facilities to do that just by talking to somebody like, "Hi, how are you?" "Hi, I'm this guy. I'm socially relevant." Dude, I was at E3 and some guy came out the toilet. He just blew it up. But when I saw his name, I won't say who it was. I was at a video game conference. Somebody came out the toilet and blew it up. And in normal circumstances, you talk trash about this person. But man, did you? Oh my God. But I looked at the name badge and saw the people that person left with. And I was like, holy crap. That's like a big dog. Suddenly, it's like the person's name badge and all the people they're with. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, now that person that blew up the bathroom, I need to know what that person's about. Not necessarily what they ate. I just need to know what they're about. And it's
I
amazing.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it, Mr. Benja.
Everybody's the same until they're not.
Exactly. And that's all it is, just a perception.
Yeah, I gotta know who people are, and that's one of my key things that I've taken from all of this marketing, branding, sales study is that just figuring out how to know who people are, people how people should know you.
Absolutely. So